hours, some thunderstorms. We'll keep an eye on any lightning around here for fire starts. Not necessarily great news, but some more, kind of unsettled weather into the late part of next week. And we'll see. I mean, there's potential that one gets a little bit more organized, but I feel like I've said that a couple times here over the last month and a half or so. But what you don't see there is like record warmth in terms of temperatures. So that in and of itself and a couple chances of moisture, certainly some good news. Colorado Springs, we may catch a thunderstorm on Sunday, and maybe another chance here in the later part of the week. We'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to broad brush that for now until we get a little bit closer. But just know there's something out there worth watching. Pueblo probably not catching anything over the weekend as it looks now, but the warmest day on this extended forecast is Friday at only 76 degrees. So that's kind of nice. And you see the numbers kind of. Hey there, everybody. We are looking at a fire burning now in southern El Paso County. I am a little bit hamstrung because the weather system has undergone a little bit of a failure this afternoon, and we are, I'm going to show you some things I don't normally show you. We're just going to have to use some web tools here. And pre-evacuations have been ordered via the incident command on Squirrel Creek Road. So let's get Google Maps in here, and we'll go ahead and go over this area where we've got pre-evacuations that have been ordered. So it's southeast of Fountain on Squirrel Creek Road, so Squirrel Creek and Milne to Myers Road and Milne. So this is again off to the southeast of Fountain. So Fountain, excuse me. Let me go ahead and put that in there. All right, let's load this up here, and we'll go southeast of Colorado Springs, and we are going to zoom in down here. Ooh, this browser doesn't like that, but we'll make it work. That's all we can do, right? So Squirrel Creek Road. And let me find Milne here. So let me back out and get some perspective for you. So it's out toward Hanover. So let's put the satellite image on here. And we'll zoom in on Squirrel Creek Road. So there's Peyton Highway right there. And we're going to go to the west of here. So there's Milne right there. And if we come farther west, although I think we've got to go off to the east. I don't know this area amazing. So Myers Road in Milne. So we're probably up to the north on Milne, so that's what I messed up. Sorry, thanks for the patience. Doing this in real time. Okay, so here's Squirrel Creek in Milne. And if we go up to the north on Milne, because the fire is blowing off to the northeast, we'll find Myers up here. So we're going to keep coming a little bit farther north. And we'll zoom in. That's a little farther north of there. I think Myers is way up here. Yeah. That's Vernon. Sorry, I went too far. All right. Let me get my bearings. Sorry, crew. Let me look that up here in a browser that I can be more efficient in. So Squirrel Creek Road, and we're going to look at Milne. So Squirrel Creek and Milne, and then to Myers Road. Okay, here we go. Google Maps isn't all that great out here, I'll tell you that. Wow, it's not liking that at all. Okay, I have a map that I can use and just kind of with my hands do faster than this is letting me do. So, okay. So Squirrel Creek Road in Milne, the fire is burning off, is off to the southwest of there. So, okay, then this must be farther south. I usually know the roads better than that, crew, but I don't in this area. I'm going to be honest with you. Let me show you where I think the fire is burning. Let's start with that, okay? So it is kind of burning, and this is why the weather computer is so much better. kind of to the south of the solar farms. And it is blowing off to the northeast, obviously, with the southwest wind that we have had here this afternoon. So areas along Squirrel Creek Road, get my bearings here, which is up to the north of Hanover, because Squirrel Creek Road runs east out of Fountain. And then I just need to find, all right, Milne Road and Myers Road. Here we go. Okay. All right, there, I found it. Okay. So this is in the vicinity of Hanover and off to the west of there. So we're kind of getting ready for the fire kind of moving off to the east here. So there's Hanover in the bottom right-hand corner. And so the fire is moving from somewhere to the south of the solar farm off to the east. And so that is the area that we are concerned about. And so we are, you know what, I'm going to cancel this upgrade. We'll deal with this later. I'm going to open up the weather computer because I need it. I can't take what's happening there. Okay, this will help a lot of stuff. Let me get this loaded back up. I apologize for this. It wasn't not fun to have, systems don't go down when the weather is sunny and the wind isn't moving all that much. Okay, we'll see what happens here. Some of this stuff may not be available, but like I said, triage later and we will deal with it. Okay. Hold on, take this phone call here. Yes, sir. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Okay, everybody, here we go. We have had a major computer crash here this afternoon on the weather side of things. And so I wanted to hop on, even though I don't have the weather computer, because it was in the middle of like an hour and a half backup. But since we've got some pre-evacuations, I want to pop on now. So we have a fire burning between Hanover and Fountain. And we will deal with this issue on my weather computer a little bit later. But the fire here is burning in the vicinity, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And you'll see this solar farm here. It's somewhere off to the south of the solar farm. So I think to the north of Hanover Road and to the south of Squirrel Creek. And it's blowing to the northeast. So it's kind of in this direction here is where it's moving. And so a pre-evacuation area has been set up for, and this is according to some of the traffic that is from the incident command, what is now known as the Hammer Fire. And so there is a pre-evacuation request, and I don't have anything official yet in terms of mapping. If you remember earlier today, I pushed some information about the new Pikes Peak Region Office of Emergency Management interactive map that they have, and this pre-evacuation request is not in here yet. And you have to keep in mind, crew, it takes a little bit of time to get ready. Now, pre-evacuation. Let's talk about that, right? That just means heads up, start thinking about things, start getting things together, okay? It doesn't mean make sure you get out of there right now. They're just always being proactive and cautious, and I always applaud that. So with the fire burning off to the northeast here, folks from Hanover off to the north in particular along Milne Road are going to be in this pre-evacuation area once we get the official thing. And I'm keeping my eye on this map here. But there are lots of creeks out in this area here that kind of run toward, obviously, Fountain Creek and the Arkansas River out there. So that makes it a little challenging to fight the fire. But you can see that, vegetation-wise, it tends to be kind of concentrated down in the creeks. And so, there's more to burn when they get down in that area versus other locations. So those of you in Hanover and along Milne Road here, from Hanover off toward where the fire is, and I'm guesstimating this, I don't have the exact location of this, but what I've been able to gather, it's about 7 miles south of Fountain. So there's 2 measurements for you from Hanover and from Fountain. So somewhere in this area that I am showing you is where the fire started. And again, it's wanting to blow off to the northeast. So that's why Squirrel Creek Road and Milne and kind of off to the south of there, I think, are the areas that are going to be under this pre-evacuation when we finally get that. Now, I am, it just popped in. Beautiful. There we go. That's awesome. Okay, so this is the brand new tool. I talked about this morning on the live that I did every morning here on Peaks to Plains Weather. So you can see the pre-evacuation area here and specifically where it is for. So now we can grab some roads and we can talk about this. So on the south end of the evacuation area here, we are on Myers Road on the south, Peyton Highway on the east, and Milne on the west. And then it runs all the way up north to Squirrel Creek Road. So that's the area that we are looking at here on the map. So if you are in this area, you are under a pre-evacuation. And so the fire is here off to your west, as we said, and it's making a little bit of a run to the northeast. So here's back to the same area. Let's talk weather conditions. What is happening out there right now? Check this out. Here's how the last 6 hours have been in terms of wind gust, and some of my data may be gone here. We'll see what happens. Oh yeah, all my text stuff is weird. We're gonna have some work to do on this. Okay. So notice over the last 2 hours, since we're coming up on 6 o'clock here, between Pueblo and Colorado Springs, we've got wind gusts that have been, if I extrapolate here, on the order of about 40 miles per hour. And you can see that here with wind out of the southwest. So that's why the fire is pushing off to the northeast. As we've been talking about for multiple days now, the humidity is certainly not helping the fire. In fact, the humidity out there right now is between 3 and 6%. So with wind gusts that strong and the humidity low, the fire obviously burning in that area and moving out there this afternoon. If you are in Fountain and you can see a smoke plume, I don't have any word on if there is a visible smoke plume. Last time I checked radar, I didn't see anything, but let's go ahead and load that up. But if you are in a spot where you can see something and you want to be of help, you certainly can hop on. So here is the smoke plume. That helps us sort of look at this a little bit better. Okay. So the smoke plume, remember, we measured about 8 miles northwest of Hanover, and there's about 7. And here's from Fountain is about 7. So if we zoom in here, and this isn't going to tell us exactly where the fire is because it has to get up into the atmosphere a little bit. So it's actually to the northeast, it looks like. And there might be some back here. So somewhere in the vicinity of that solar farm. And again, you've got to give me some wiggle room here. I'm not out there on the lines. This is not in a really populated area. And so it's going to take a little bit to get some specific information as to where this is. But the smoke plume that you can see here is representative of on the ground how the fire is moving. And you can see that smoke plume now is up toward Ellicott. The length of the smoke plume is getting pretty impressive now, and that tells us that the fire is moving here off to the northeast. Let me grab my tool to measure. And you can see, so it's about 23, 24, 30 miles or so that I can measure. And that tells us it's burning stuff and it is active. So, you know, this fire is certainly moving. So if you are in the Hanover area and particularly to the north of Hanover, this fire is moving your way. If you are just joining us here, this is a brand new tool from the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. And let me pull in what they said about what this tool is going to allow us to do, because I think it's really, really important. The timeliness of this is, I mean, it's stunning. In fact, I'm going to let you watch a little bit here so I can get kind of my bearings on where this is. But here's this information about peak alerts, this map that we are using that just came online. Check this out. And then, my friends, I want to take an opportunity to help you and your family be ready. Peaks to Plains weather is our weather together. Here is a moment to be prepared. Recently, I went to a press conference that was held by the City of Colorado Springs, the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, and the El Paso Teller 911 Authority, because they have a new real-time interactive map on the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management website that has evacuation notices, shelter in place, weather alerts, all kind of information that can help you and your family when there is an ongoing emergency situation in El Paso and Teller counties.
The goal is simple. It's help people understand what is happening, where it's happening, and what to do. The map provides real-time integration with official emergency alerts, and it is directly connected to peak alerts or our emergency notification system. It includes the incident areas, including searchable street level data, evacuation zones and statuses, which can be a shelter in place order, an evacuation warning, or an evacuation order.
And so you see there the things that they had set up for the press conference event. Of course, those were all test things that weren't actually happening. But here is a look at that map in real time. And you can see how you can zoom in on it. You can zoom out. You can use the search tab up at the top left there to put in maybe the kid's school or something like that. On the right-hand side, you see all of the layers that are built into that system. And so you can imagine that in a real-time event, how useful that can be. Because if I go back to, the Waldo Canyon fire, the Black Forest fire, other events that have happened in the area in the past, people have shared, these things that are a screen capture of a map that you couldn't do anything with. And people would be like, am I in this? Am I out of this? Am I evacuated? Am I not evacuated? And so they make this really easy. Through peak alerts, when one of these things is issued, you will get the notification if you are impacted, and a link to the map will be included. Now, Ben Bills, who's the public information officer for the Pikes Peak, for the El Paso Teller 911 Authority, I should say, he said that only 18 to 20% of our community is signed up for peak alerts. He encourages you to sign up today.
I've been in the 911 world for 25 years now, and I've been around for the Waldo Canyon and the Black Forest fires, and I know the pain points and the struggles that we had during those times with alert and warning and just getting information in general. But if there's a call to action from today, is to take 2 minutes while you have it today and sign up for emergency alerts to make sure that you get that information that pertains to your safety if an emergency occurs where you live, work, and play. It just takes a second. If you have elderly neighbors, elderly relatives, and they're not tech savvy, please give them a hand. And if somebody else needs assistance that's out there that may see this, you can call 719-785-1971, and a member of our staff will create that profile for you. But peakalerts.org, one-stop shop to sign up for emergency alerts, and that way you're looped into both what the emergency is, and you'll get a link to this map that's interactive so you can have some situational awareness to what's happening around you.
And pretty interesting here that is exactly what we are dealing with now. And that press conference was yesterday, crew. So here we go. We've got this fire ongoing. During that, I actually took a phone call from one of the local fire crews who was heading down there to help, asking about wind direction changes here over the next hour or two. And we aren't going to see any here. We're going to continue to see a southwest wind. And so here you can see Squirrel Creek and Peyton Highway. And we pick up the plume on radar about 6 miles off to the southwest of there. So there is a length of time to go, which is why you are on pre-evacuation, again, between Peyton Highway and Milne from Squirrel Creek off to the south. And I'll show you that map again that I was just talking about in that piece there, and that the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management and Ben Bills from Peak Alerts talked about just yesterday. So very, very timely press conference on their end. So you can see Squirrel Creek there on the north. You've got Peyton Highway and Milne. And then on the south end of this pre-evacuation area, you have Myers Road. So if you're in a pre-evacuation area, what does that mean? Well, there is a high probability that you'll be ordered to evacuate at some point, or at least in your mind, you should be thinking that way, but it's not been given. So get things in order, be prepared to leave. If you do not feel safe, I always say this, don't wait for someone to come knock on your door or to get a message on your phone that says, get out of here. If you're in a spot, you see things changing, you don't feel safe, what is the harm of leaving? Go. Get out of there. Go in a direction that is opposite the direction of travel of the fire, which in this case is off to the northeast. So the closest, I have a couple weather stations we can grab down in this area to look at. And so let's do a couple of them and kind of analyze here what we've got. Of course, the Colorado Springs Airport is not too far away. We can use this as an approximation. The wind is currently out of the southwest at 28 miles per hour, and we are getting gusts to 44 miles per hour. I'm getting word here from a local firefighter that single engine air tankers have been ordered for this fire. And helicopter availability is also being checked on. Utilities is going to de-energize some power poles down in this area. That's one of the things that when I was looking on the satellite imagery, you can see down in this area, there is a lot of those. And so if I zoom in and we take the gray off there and we can see the satellite imagery. Here's one of them kind of running off to the southeast right there away from the solar farm. There's another one that kind of heads to the south there. I'll put these lines on, like here's one right there. I think this is one as well. There's probably some other ones. If I can zoom in real close, we could look for all of the power poles, but I don't know if that helps us here. But that just shows you that local authorities, local organizations are doing work. This might be a power line here, right there as well. It kind of looks like it to me. Are doing work to kind of keep things safe here and not have other issues. So again, this fire's off to the southeast of Fountain and off to the northwest of the Hanover area. So those of you in Ellicott and Yoder, you're probably seeing smoke overhead right now, given what I'm looking at on radar here. But I don't want you to worry because you are quite a ways away from this fire, about 15 miles. What the firefighters will do over the next few hours is they will identify natural breaks like roads, maybe other things that they can identify to use where there's a break in the vegetation to help them try to establish some fronts out ahead of this fire to stop it at some point. And those are decisions that they are making now. Like I said, I took a phone call from one of the firefighters who was heading from that direction from the north and is responding to that fire. It's one of the things that I think is great about the firefighting community. We pool resources when things happen and everybody heads into that area. Let's look at Pueblo. Pueblo obviously to the south of the fire here, but we can use this as an approximation of what is happening weather-wise in that area as well. Look at the dew point, crew. It's -3. That is wild. In the last 24 hours, the dew point has dropped 15 degrees, and we do have falling pressures over the plains because we have that developing dry line out across eastern Colorado, and like the Colorado Springs Airport, getting gusts around 40 miles per hour. So we can make a really safe approximation out here that that is about the wind that we are getting in that area out of the southwest, somewhere between about 40 and 45. There may be some enhanced gusts in the vicinity of the fire where it is making its own weather in some cases. And as we have an active smoke plume, winds coming in at the surface to obviously try and replace that. So you can see I'll loop this here over the last 2 hours. I might be missing some data because we had that crash, but no, it looks like the system kept up with that. So you can see the smoke plume with your eyeball back here. Kind of right back in here is where it looks to have started. And now we may be seeing it have advanced off to the northeast there a little bit. I have to make some assumptions because radar is not right on the ground. Radar starts several stories above the ground, leaves the radar at about a half degree of elevation. And so the farther it goes away from the radar, the higher it gets off of the ground. Over Colorado Springs, parts of Colorado Springs, the radar beam, the lowest level, is about 1,800 feet above your head. This isn't too far from the radar, so it's actually pretty helpful in this situation. It's probably 400 or 500 feet off of the ground. But we can look at this smoke plume in 3D here. And what you'll probably see is that this is not very high off of the ground. So if I can move that kind of back and forth here, let me grab that. Yeah, it's not high off the ground at all. I'll turn that mode off, come back up to the top here. But you can see that smoke plume, which tells us that it is burning things and it is certainly an active fire that is ongoing. There has been some chatter that it is bigger than perhaps 500 acres as of now. Of course, this is all an estimate. If you are in Fountain and you see this smoke plume, if you are along Highway 94 and you see this smoke plume, you can join me here at vmix.at, zmSjK, the S and K are capitalized, or vmix.at, 1RJSL1, and the J and S are capitalized. And you can come right here on the show with me, and you can give me a report from where you are. You can show how windy it is. You can show if you see that smoke plume or not. And we always have those available. I'm going to leave them up for a little bit so somebody can write them down and try to use that. While I am doing that, I am going to show you this is pproem.com/alerts. So people in this pre-evacuation area that were signed up for peak alerts were notified of this. And people that were not, I don't know if they used they have a couple other tools they can use here to do this, but this is a little bit north of the Hanover Junior and Senior High School, where Myers Road is on the south end of the pre-evacuation, and then west of Peyton Highway and east of Milne Road. That runs all the way north up to Squirrel Creek Road. So anybody in that area should be thinking about, hey, okay, if they don't get a handle on this thing, what should we do in a little bit? Again, this is a pre-evacuation. That is important to know. You don't have to go yet. If you don't feel safe, you certainly should go. I'm going to take a second here and pull up the comments from our social channels. I didn't have a chance to turn those on before, so let me do that. That'll take me a second here. Be patient. Thank you for the patience. But you may have some information that you can help with here. Turn both of those on. Locate the right things. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I knew a lot of you were on there. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Brenna is in, it says we've got great firefighters out here. Fire Station 4 in Ellicott just headed out. Melissa says, I'm in Ellicott and I smell smoke. You see why there with that smoke plume moving in your area. Teresa says, I am following you on FB, but is there an app for Peaks to Plains? Yes, Teresa, there most certainly is. And here's how you get it. You can go to Peaks to Plains, Peaks, the number 2, Plains, like Eastern Plains, weather.com, and you can download it there, or you can just search Peaks to Plains weather in the App Store and Google Play. I'll take you to the website right now, and you can see up at the top there is a place to download the Peaks to Plains weather app right there. If you are doing that, you should turn your location on so we can give you updates when things are happening like this. So let's see. Okay. Jeff says, I can see smoke from my second floor in Falcon, but that's it. Terry says, someone said something about Palmer Park being lit up this morning. There were a couple of fires that were set in Palmer Park in Colorado Springs early this morning. There was an arrest made in that, though. So it seems like that was some arson that was happening. And thankfully, they got that person, because we don't need any of that in this situation. So currently, we've got very strong wind across the area. We have a red flag warning that is up over the area until midnight tonight. That is very atypical of this time of year. Usually what happens is red flag warnings usually expire about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, because usually what happens is as the sun goes down, the temperatures start coming up, the wind usually starts to pull back a little bit, and you kind of get above the threshold for red flag warnings. What are those, by the way? This was an easy one. We knew that today was going to be an easy one. Here's what my friends at the Weather Service use. 15% or lower humidity. I showed you that already. Wind speed, 25 mile an hour or greater. We're running 40 mile an hour gusts right now. Critically dry fuels, and for a length of time. And we've seen these conditions here this afternoon. Earlier, we had a fire on Fountain Creek in Pueblo. Thankfully, we had crews that responded to that. I got an amazing video that was sent in to me that I will try to transfer over here. It was fantastic, of a helicopter coming in right behind Target and right behind the mall in Pueblo, and just dropping fire right on there. Crews are still out on that fire. They are in what they describe as mop-up mode. That was a post from the Pueblo County Sheriff Office. So that was good news as well. I do have some images I can pull up quicker from the fire earlier today. So here is from Angelo Pena. You can see that helicopter coming in. And again, they're trying to look for helicopter access for this fire. And then we got this from Connie, and you can see when the fire was active. And that was actually a time in Pueblo earlier today where the wind wasn't bad. It picked up about an hour and a half after that fire got going, but that was kind of a close call in the Steel City earlier today, unlike what we have happening out here off to the southeast of Colorado Springs with this fire that is currently ongoing. This is called the Hammer Fire. It was reported as having started about 7 miles to the southeast of Fountain. And so somewhere in the vicinity of that big solar farm that's out there, there's a couple clusters that are out in that area, but you can see here what the smoke plume is doing. We see that on radar. Let me actually see if we can see that on visible satellite. We've had some high clouds that have started to come in, but let's check that out together. All right, let me load that up here. And again, I might be missing some of this data, but yeah, it looks like we have enough high clouds now that perhaps this is the smoke plume in here. And that's really tough to tell. On this last frame, it's very possible that this right here is the smoke plume. I can't guarantee that, but my hunch is that's what that is on visible satellite. So there's another tool that we have that we can see what's happening out there. So, crew, that is the situation. I do think over the next couple of hours here, we don't get a huge change from a weather perspective. Let me walk you through that. And I will grab, I've got a couple of different things. I'm going to have to change the times on some of this stuff. So I'm going to ask for your patience. See if I have Hanover on this map. Okay, you'll get the idea. Okay, so I'm going to take us from right now into the late part of the evening on a model that has been underdoing what the wind gusts have been and are going to be for a couple days here. But it will show us that as we move through the evening, notice how the wind direction doesn't really change. Perhaps we start to see the wind pull back a little bit. That would obviously be good news, would stop the natural rate of growth of the fire here. But it's not like it goes calm. I mean, up between 15 and 20 is still going to push the fire, but down around the vicinity of the fire off to the southeast of Colorado Springs may be an area where the wind is a little bit lighter. And notice that as that happens, you start to get a little bit of an erratic kind of movement there of some of the wind, or certainly a sort of shift, maybe more to the west compared to the southwest than we've had out there today. I would need to look at a couple things a little bit closer, but the large-scale southwest wind certainly starts to pull back a little bit here as we head into the late part of the evening. So that's good news. If we can get through the next, let's say, 2 hours or so and keep this west of, I'm sure the firefighters have used one of the roads in that area as a potential breaking point for this fire. Maybe we'll get some good news on that. Because again, we do have this red flag warning that is in effect until midnight tonight. Now, we did see a gust that was over 45 miles per hour in the Sangre de Cristos today. The humidity at the time was in the single digits. So the particularly dangerous situation, red flag warning that was issued for areas outside of where this fire is, that did verify today. So the Weather Service had a data point that met that criteria. And, you know, that's geek. That doesn't matter right now, right? So, you know, just know that that's something that from an interesting standpoint, from a weather history standpoint, it is kind of interesting. So, again, I do think visible satellite here is picking this up. Man, that's really tough. But I can't say for 100%. Let me look at something on the web. Let me use another tool. Let's see if I can determine that here. Visible satellite. Okay. Yeah, I think that is. Let me look at a loop real quick. Then I'll be able to say, I think, on this with some certainty here. Yeah, that is the smoke plume. So there you go. And so not only on radar, but you can see it kind of blowing out toward Highway 94 between Ellicott and Rush, Yoder in there, of course, as well, and the radar plume. So there's not a lot to, you know, in fires talk about, because things don't change that quick. But I want to be here just to help folks that are in the area that might be getting home from work, having questions, seeing the smoke on the drive home, and, you know, maybe have questions to work on. So it's areas to the north of Hanover that we are concerned about. That's where the pre-evacuation area is. Again, that runs from Myers Road on the south, Squirrel Creek Road on the north, and from Peyton Highway on the east to Milne Road on the west. So we have somebody that's jumped in now, sir. If you're on your phone, would you turn it the other way? It'll help fill up the screen a little bit. And I will bring you on, and we'll talk to you. How are you, sir? Oh, wait, hold on a second. There you go.
That's it.
Go ahead. How are you?
Good.
What's your name?
I'm Adam.
Adam, and where are you at?
I'm out here just where the Meridian fire happened last year, and I saw you were online doing something. I could see the smoke from my house, but that's about it.
Okay. If you turn your phone around out the window, are we able to see that as well?
Yeah, possibly.
Let's try it. Let's see what happens. This is what's cool about Peaks to Plains. We got neighbors helping neighbors here. And, oh yeah, there we go. Okay. Have you seen the characteristics of that plume change at all, or has it been looking about the same over the last like half hour?
It's been moving southeast from where it started, but that's about it.
Okay. And how are you? So you're north of the fire?
Straight, I'll just turn my camera off, but I'm straight south of where it started.
Straight south of where it started. Got it. Okay. Well, thanks for that report. If you have anything else, you're welcome to jump back on. I appreciate you taking the time here this afternoon to show that to us. That was good to see. And you can see why, you know, people are obviously on edge and perhaps, you know, afraid of that with that thing moving off to the northeast there. So he's just south of that fire, and he is obviously in a safe place since the fire's burning off to the northeast, and so he was able to join us and show us that. So it is pretty low to the ground, as you saw there, and given the wind speeds, you know, that's not a surprise. We had talked about that and guesstimated that a little bit earlier here. This tool is probably not going to work all that great either, given how low this is, but yeah, this thing is so low that... So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a vertical, a three-dimensional kind of cross-section of the fire. And when it's so low like that, you just really can't see much. Because the way that radar works is if this is the radar site, we send a beam out, that's at 1/2 degree. Then there are a series of radar beams that go out from the radar, and of course the radar's spinning around. So you get this, what we call volumetric, three-dimensional picture of the atmosphere in an orb or a sphere from the radar. And that we can see how tall the tops of thunderstorms are. It's how we can see hail cores descending from thunderstorms, how we can see rotation in storms coming down to the surface. And that's what we use to analyze thunderstorms. And in this case, we're using it to analyze this smoke plume that is off to the southeast of Colorado Springs. But as we saw in that live look there, it's so low to the ground. I mean, other than being able to see it here on the lowest tilt, it doesn't really help us much. Again, Ellicott, if you are just joining us, off to the south of you, the fire is pretty far away. I think anybody on Highway 94, you do not need to be concerned about the fire at this point. Again, air apparatus have been ordered. Sent that to me. They also are looking into helicopter availability. And so obviously, if you can get quick moving things that can put retardant or water out in front of these fires, that helps, especially if you do them in the vicinity of some natural breaks and make those stronger or a little bit wider, depending on what the firefighters on the ground are asking for and they want the air apparatus to do. So unfortunately, you know, today worked out like we thought would be the case. Let me pull up something here. Okay, I'm going to change this. Okay, I'm going to show you the next 4 hours here. I'm going to grab Ellicott. We'll use that as an approximation. Or actually, you know what? Let's use the Colorado Springs Airport. I like that data point a little bit better. So kind of like what I showed you on the map, if we grab an individual data point, we do see the wind maybe dropping a little bit over the next couple of hours, but it's only 6:20. I'm taking you toward 9 o'clock here. Now, the gusts, hopefully we start to pull those back here in the next hour or so. That in and of itself would help the firefighters try to get a handle on this thing. Look at this. Brenna just says that was my neighbor, Adam, that came on. So that's proof right there. Neighbors helping neighbors. Brenna has been adding stuff in the chat. Adam came on, gave us a breakdown here, and there you go. Okay. Brenna also says Houghton Healing and Therapy needs help evacuating their sanctuary horses. She asked me to make an announcement. She says it is on their Facebook page. And so there you go. And we got that on there. So people need help in that area, right? It's on the front lines of this thing. It's neighbors helping neighbors as well. Let me show you the weather grid here. This is a very useful tool. So I think this is Pueblo. And we'll use Colorado Springs since I just showed you that. So it shows the wind gusts pulling back. And this has been underdone all day long too by about 15 miles per hour. But you do see some decrease here this evening, as we thought would be the case. Notice that the relative humidity over the next 3 hours here on the bottom of the screen, the relative humidity recovery is really, really poor. We're ahead of a cold front. We're bringing desert air into the region. And so, by midnight, we're still at 15%. So that's not great. And this model is actually picking up on that little wind shift that we saw maybe from southwest to west, a little bit more of a westerly component here in the middle part of the evening as well. I'm going to text one of these firefighters and let him know that. Hold on a second. Got to do multiple things here, crew. Between 8 and 9 o'clock, the wind may go a little bit more out of a west direction instead of southwest, period. There should be a gradual decrease in speed after about 7:15 or 7:30, period. Okay, hopefully that's helpful to them as they are responding to that. You can see tomorrow, even though we're going to be behind a cold front, notice the temperatures in Colorado Springs, low to mid 60s tomorrow, kind of through the warmest part of the day. That's cooler than what we had today. But even with that, the wind picks back up. Humidity is low again. You see that, we're back down below 15%. And so the high temperatures today was 80 in Colorado Springs and real close to what we had yesterday across the area, within a degree or two for a lot of spots. Those will come down tomorrow as we get a cold front to come into the area. So again, the humidity is a big cause of the issue out there this afternoon. Single digit humidity in the vicinity of 0 is bone dry, obviously. You don't need me to tell you that. When we look at the dew point, it is a 0 degree dew point in Colorado Springs and a -3, or 0 in Pueblo, and a -3 in Colorado Springs. What is the difference between relative humidity and dew point? Oh, it's a good question. I'm glad you asked. You're probably thinking it, right? At least a couple of you. So the dew point is the actual measure of moisture in the air. It is the temperature that the air would need to be cooled to get water vapor to condense out of the air. And in this case, it's below 0 in some cases, right? That's a huge temperature swing. Now, so let's use that 0 as an example, okay? Let's say at midnight, the dew point in Pueblo is still 0. It will probably be a little bit above that, but let's just say that it was 0, okay? And I just showed you the humidity in Pueblo with that 0 degree dew point is 4%, okay? Now, if I show you the temperature in Pueblo right now, it's 82, okay? So let's say by midnight, the temperature's 72, okay? So we come down 10 degrees, just for argument's sake. But the dew point is still 0. The amount of water in the air has not changed one bit, but the relative humidity would probably be around 15% or something like that. So the relative part of relative humidity is because it's relative to the temperature. It gives you an idea about the capacity of the temperature of air to hold water. Because the warmer an air mass is, the more water it can hold in theory. But I talk about dew point more often, especially this time of year when we start talking about thunderstorms and whatnot, because I can relate things better. I have a hard time wrapping my head around like, okay, 35% in the morning, and then in the afternoon it's 20%. Tell me the dew point. Has the dew point changed or not? And I'm a meteorologist, for heaven's sakes, right? So I find that a little bit confusing. But when it comes to fire weather, we usually talk humidity a little bit more because it's one of the ways that we can measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. So yeah, we've got this fire burning here. Let me see if anything has changed in terms of the pre-evacuation. No. So what we have is Chico Creek off to the west of the pre-evacuation area. And I'll see if I can pull that up on our map here that we were looking at on the fire. So if I zoom in enough, we get rid of, so there's Peyton Highway, there's Squirrel Creek Road. That's kind of on the north end of the pre-evacuation area. And right here is Chico Creek. Right there. So, the fire is obviously burning somewhere in here. How far south did it start before it started blowing off to the northeast? I'm not sure. And that's okay. But we do know it is blowing off to the northeast because of the strong wind that we've had here this afternoon. Unfortunate to see this fire have developed. So let's zoom in, and here's another power line running right there, it looks like, in the vicinity of the plume. I don't see much in the way of homes out here. Like where the fire is probably burning in all likelihood, back in here. Because the closer you get to the solar farm, there's just not a lot going on back there. But again, we're not just concerned about where the fire is right now, but where the fire could go as well. So that's why that pre-evacuation has been issued. Those of you that have just popped in, I know there's been in and out. People are getting some information. People are making dinner and all of that stuff. Yesterday, I was at a press conference at the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management for this brand new tool that they wanted to let the community know about. This is on their website. It's pproem.com/alerts. And this is their real-time public information map. So when there are pre-evacuations like we have right now, you can zoom in interactively and you can see those. You can put your address in up here at the top. If I knew a viable address to use, we could try that. And then the map would zoom in there and I could see if I was in the pre-evacuation area or not. So pre-evacuation means start getting your stuff together, start making plans, start thinking about if we need to leave, what are we going to do? But remember, you are responsible for yourself. You do not have to wait to be ordered to leave. You can voluntarily evacuate if you feel threatened in this or any other situation, right? Like, don't wait for somebody to tell you what to do if you're like, wow, that seems like it's getting closer to us pretty fast. Again, I'm kind of the opinion, in particular with a fire, like, what is the harm of going? Right? If you pack some stuff up and you leave and you go to a friend's place, or you go to a hotel, or you go get some dinner, whatever the case might be, and then you come back later, turns out you didn't need to leave, was anything harmed? Nope. So there you go. All right. Let's see. Adam, I don't know what Adam meant here. Really did not expect that to happen. I don't know if he's talking about the fire or whatnot. But there you go. So if you have questions, you can put them into the chat on the social media. I'll take a second here since we announced that Mary is joining me, Mary Matthews. Joining me here on Peaks to Plains Weather. If you missed that, I've been at her house a couple times this week. We're getting everything set up. She's about ready to go. And yes, we're doing this from our homes. So I'm in about a 500 square foot space that if I was renting commercial space Wouldn't need anything bigger than what I have. Got a big 86-inch interactive monitor that we can do things on. Right now, I'm looking at about screens here, looking at a bunch of different weather information, and so it makes more sense to be over here kind of in my control hub. But Mary should be joining us officially next week to start doing some coverage with us here. One of the places you can go to interact with Peaks to Plains, so we have a couple of places. The Peaks to Plains weather app is, in my opinion, the best way for us to take care of you, because you can get in there, you can turn your location on, you can get our forecast for your specific spot. We get in there, we edit that stuff. When there are uncertainties, we try to address those things. We try to write things in there that make sense. And you can get the hour by hour stuff. You get push alerts from us. You get forecasts when we do live things. We try to let you know about it. And so that's the best way we can take care of you. If you're at work on a desktop computer, or if you prefer a desktop, you can also get this on, of course, a mobile device. peakstoplainsweather.com. We've got a command center in there. If I turn this on and turn the radar on, you can go in there and you can use this to see things that are happening across the area as well. You can turn on all kinds of different things. You can turn on lightning. You can turn on, let's see if the wildfire detection has picked this up yet. That's a satellite feature. It may not have yet. It might not be big enough. Yeah, it hasn't, since that's too low to the ground. But you can see our storm system off to the northwest that's helping to drive the wind today in there as well. You can do the past satellite and radar. You can do future computer model information and take that thing forward into the future. You can even look outside of Colorado in there. But then you can scroll down. You can get the extended forecast in there as well. You can put your location in there. You can read all of our information about what's going on today, tomorrow, and all the way out into the future. And again, up at the top, you can download the Peaks to Plains weather app. So just wanted to make you aware of that. We've also got a YouTube channel. You can search Peaks to Plains on there. The streaming channel is available on there. It's on Roku as well. And when we do live things, we push that stream to social media as well. So Wendy actually just asked about the website, and I didn't see that. So that was kind of some good timing. Wendy, there you go. I hope that was helpful. Green Bay Barb is asking, do I work harder now than I did in TV? Oh, Barb, if you only knew. If you only knew. I am so thankful to have partnered up with Mary to do this. This is us both evolving to serve our community better. I mean, this is fulfilling to me. To be able to try to help people and give weather information when things are happening, regardless of what it is, whether it's a wildfire, whether it's severe thunderstorms, whether it's winter weather, flooding. I mean, it doesn't matter. Blowing dust, if it's high impact, I'm all about it, and I want to help people with it. So there you go. So yes, that's the short answer. Or I gave you the long answer to your question, but the short answer is yes, most certainly. Okay, so the fire's somewhere between 500, 750 acres. And it is heading towards Squirrel Creek Road. And so it looks like that is going to be closed here per request of law enforcement in the area. So Squirrel Creek Road, that's 94. We need to go to the south of there. There's Squirrel Creek running over toward Peyton Highway. So it looks like they're going to close that down in the vicinity of the Fountain landfill. All the way over to Milne. So again, out in this area, precautions are being taken to make sure everybody stays safe, that fire trucks and firefighters can move around and get done what they need to get done. So Squirrel Creek Road is going to be closed. The Fountain landfill is about, looks like, 3-ish miles off to the east of Shumway, which is the eastern end of Fountain. from Link Road there. Let's measure how far that is. So from Link Road, it's about 3.5 miles or so toward the Fountain landfill. So from this location right here, all the way over to Milne, Squirrel Creek is going to be closed. And Milne is about right there. So that's kind of in the vicinity of where the fire is moving. Obviously, you don't want cars and whatnot on that if the fire ends up getting close to that. So that request has been made by local law enforcement. And so the situation is changing up here. And again, that's partly because of the wind that we've got going out there this afternoon. The elevation out here is about 5,700 feet on Squirrel Creek Road. So it's lower than downtown Colorado Springs. And there is a pretty noticeable drop-off as you head south. Obviously, you're heading toward the Arkansas River Valley, the Arkansas River itself as you go south in southern El Paso County, so you do kind of lose elevation. And so this fire is running up a hill here this afternoon as we continue to have strong wind. Here are the wind gusts across southern Colorado right now. Over the last hour, actually I'd say the last 3 hours, we've been seeing wind out in this area on either side of 40 miles per hour. I'm going to pull up the last 6 hours just so you can see it here. So notice in Pueblo, when we had that fire this afternoon, the target fire in Fountain Creek, the wind gusts, it started at about 1:30. The wind gusts were only 17 miles per hour. And at 2 o'clock, it was 15 miles per hour. So the sustained wind was only about 5 or 6 miles per hour. In contrast to Colorado Springs, that was 37. So the weather helped us out a little bit in Pueblo today. But then we got toward 2:30, the wind jumped up in Pueblo. And then as we got toward the later part of the afternoon, you see that wind getting up to around 40. And that's kind of where we've been here over the last couple of hours now, running on either side of 40. In fact, our wind is gust-wise stronger in Pueblo right now than it's been all day long. And you see that southwest flow is heading into a dry line that's developed this afternoon out near the Kansas line. You see where that southeast wind is out in western Kansas. On the other side of that dry line, we have some higher dew point air. So this is a dry line out in this area across eastern Colorado. Let me pull this up here. So on the east side of it, there is more moisture at the surface. The dew points are higher. Remember, that's the actual measure of moisture in the air compared to the west side of it, where our humidity is just bone dry. We've got dew point in Colorado Springs of -3 degrees right now, which is just incredible. Okay. I'm not sure what happened on the, this is a new tool and I'm not familiar with how it always operates, but let me reload this page here before I pull it up. So we've lost the pre-evacuation notice, at least on the map. And I don't know if that means that it has been dropped already or not. My hunch is probably not, but I don't want to give the all clear on that because I don't know. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why that would have been dropped already, unless the firefighters have a line out ahead of that thing that they feel comfortable with. But given the weather conditions, I doubt that we're there yet. Anyways, so, that's a new tool, and we'll have to see if that pops back in here in a little bit. It would be awesome if it was dropped. See here, I'm looking around for some information. Yeah, I don't see that has been dropped from a text notification standpoint. So I think there's just an issue with the map there. So let's assume that the pre-evacuation is still up. You have any questions? Hop on. Let me know. Anything you want to see here, I can show you that. We can do kind of whatever you want to do here. I'm just going to hang out for a while because I know are people looking for information about what is going on in regards to this fire. Okay. All right. Let's do a little bit of forecasting here into the future. Okay. If you are somebody that just found out about Peaks to Plains with the Mary announcement over the last couple of days, here's what we have been talking about. On the south end of this area of low pressure that's up across Montana, see the jet stream? The jet streak in particular, where there is some darker orange colors in there. The position of that jet streak just off to our northwest, and this is real time right here, right now, has had us in an area of sinking air today. And so it has allowed momentum transport down to the surface. And you also heard me over the last 3 days at least, maybe it was 4, say that the models have been underdoing the gusts. And they were showing them about 25 or 30. And if you remember, I was saying 40 plus over the plains, and that certainly worked out today. So you can see here over Colorado, if I take it kind of into the future through tonight, that because that first streak moves off to the northeast, we will see the wind gusts eventually pull back, but it's going to take a while. I think we've got another hour to an hour and a half before we start to see a little bit of improvement here. Humidity is going to be slow to recover, but we'll have to see kind of what happens. Let me put this into a different thing here. Okay, per some radio traffic, law enforcement is conducting door-to-door evacuations along Milne Road. Exact parameters of this are not known. So maybe on this map, maybe what happened is that went away, the pre-evacuation notice, because perhaps this is being changed to an evacuation notice. It's possible. I'll keep my eye on that and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to pop the radar back on here and use the mapping tool that I have in the radar. So again, to the north of Hanover, it's Peyton Highway and Milne right there. Myers is the south end of this pre-evacuation. So just to orient you, this is the bottom bounding of the pre-evacuation area. So you can see that there are some homes back here just to the north of Myers Road. And then areas to the north of here are, I think, at greater risk. So there's Powers up here, and we get toward Holman. There are some homes here that you can see. Those may be ones where doors are being knocked on right now. There are some homes right along Milne, as you can see. Back farther to the west, you get away from Milne and away from Holman. There's not much in there. But again, you get toward Milne and you can see these homes that are in this area. And I'm going to take you up to Squirrel Creek right here. So how far is it between Squirrel Creek Road and Myers on the south end of this evacuation? Just trying to go out a little bit as I can here. Oh, I need to change some of those roads. There's Squirrel Creek right at the bottom. So how much of an area are we talking about here? I'm just going to run this south toward Hanover. I know all of you that live out here that drive these roads know it's about 7 miles. Let me see how many I missed there. Yeah, about 7 miles, give or take a little bit. So we have this stretch of road of about 6 miles that starts at Myers to the north of Hanover and runs up to Squirrel Creek, which is where this pre-evacuation area has been. And per the radio traffic, we are getting law enforcement conducting some door-to-door evacuations. So it's going to be interesting to see if on this new map, when that pops in. Remember, it takes a little bit of time to create the maps from what is requested from the crews out in the field. It takes a little bit of time to type 3 or 4 sentences with information that people need to know. But obviously, the crews that are out in this area are conducting help as well. So here we go. This just popped in. So this is now an evacuation area. And we have Hanover Road on the south. You can see there. And on the, let me go back. Or Hammer Road to Peyton Highway, and Myers Road north to Squirrel Creek. So that north and south bounding is still the same. But now we are from Hammer Road all the way over to Peyton Highway. So that's the area that is under an evacuation order. So that goes all the way up to Squirrel Creek Road right there. The fire is reported as being near Hammer Road and Hanover Road. So let's find that on here. Okay. All right. So here is Hanover Road. Right here. And this is Hammer Road. Right there. Now I'm going to zoom out and give you some perspective. So it's off to the west of Hanover. About 5 miles or so, where they're saying that the fire is located there. That's from the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management website, and from the notification of the evacuation order. And so from there, if we zoom out, you see that we pick up the smoke plume up to the north of there. Notice this. The smoke plume is not as visible on radar as it was a while ago. And that could mean a couple of things. There's not as much for the radar beam to bounce off of. Maybe there's not as much particulate there. Maybe it is lower to the ground than it was before, when it was very low to the ground. Both of those things may be possible as well. So some of the roads on the south end of this evacuation area. To the east of Hammer Road, we've got DeGroot Road, and then we run into Milne, then over to Peyton Highway. We head to the north of there. We hit Hanover Junior and Senior High School, and then running to the north from Milne, because Hammer Road, it looks like, is paved for a while and then becomes a dirt road. Once it hits, actually Hammer Road looks like it curves there over toward a residence. So there is one residence that I just found in this area. Let me see if I can show you that. All right, so let's zoom back into, here's Hammer. Here's Hammer and Hanover. So this is a southwestern corner of the evacuation area. So I'm going to pull up Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management page. So we're in that southwest corner there. If we come up north here on Hammer, it curves. There are some structures in there. It looks like a home, maybe 2 homes, ranch probably of some sort. And Hammer Road kind of comes up and then curls off to the northeast here. And I'm not sure what we've got right there. So, crew, there are people in the vicinity of this fire for sure this afternoon. It is not a heavily populated area, but it is populated. And so there are people that are fleeing from their homes right now that are being asked to flee. And so keep them in your prayers here this evening. We're going to get an update of weather data here. We did get an update at 6:30. Colorado Springs was at 44 at the top of the hour. At 6:30 was at 35. Pueblo was still at 41. So that hasn't changed a lot. We look at the specific info from the Pueblo airport here. And still that southwest direction. So we know the fire is being pushed off to the northeast. And at Colorado Springs, the airport, which is off to the northwest of the fire. Whoops, grabbed the wrong one there. Sorry about that. Even at Fort Carson, that wind's out of the southwest. Colorado Springs, we're southwest at 24, south-southwest at 24, gusting to 35. So, the wind tends to do this a little bit. It'll move between 5 and 8 degrees, something like that. So, but generally a southwest wind, pushing that fire off to the northeast, aided by humidity that is extremely low. So there you go. I find that my thoughts go to the people whose, hopefully not, but lives might be being changed right now. On Holman Road, there are a couple dozen houses. It looks like from Peyton Highway off to the west toward Milne, and kind of straddling Milne from Holman up toward Squirrel Creek Road. Most of the homes look like they are on the east side of Milne. There are a few closer to Holman on the west side, but then north of there must be a ranch or something, because you get too far north, there's nothing west of Milne Road, which maybe is a good thing in this situation. So, okay, well, that's where we're at, crew. So this fire has obviously produced some impact here this afternoon. And we've been able to see the plume on visible satellite. I'm going to have you hang here with me, but I'm going to make a couple of social media posts. So just hang tight with me. If you have questions you want to ask, this will be a good time to ask them, and then I can hop in. And answer them. So I'm just going to grab a couple of things here. Back a little bit. You get to see what I'm doing when it's just me in here. I talk to myself quite a bit. I don't know if that means if that's a sign of intelligence or if it's not a sign of intelligence, but that's what I do. Probably not a sign of intelligence if I was going to guess. Okay, now I'm going to make a couple social media posts here. Put these on. Thanks for your patience. This is kind of getting, behind the curtain here. Whoops. I've got the same. Whoops, need to do that again. And resave. go. Let me type this. I'm going to put some weather information in here, some of the things that we've been talking about together. Okay, post this here. All right, post it in one more place. Again, thanks for the patience. Be back here in a second. Got to get things in so many places. And there we go. All right. Okay. Let me hop back in and see if any of you have any additional questions, information, things to pass on. Okay, Jennifer says, I'm just joining. Is it still south? It's not close to Fort Carson or Security. Jennifer, this is off to the east of both of those locations. So the fire initially reported about 7 miles southeast of Fountain. We'll see if that gets tweaked over time, where that is going to be, but it is not in those areas. Brenna says, this is great. Thank you. Thank you, Brenna. I appreciate that. And Elizabeth says there was a huge fire in Pueblo too. I don't know if you're talking about a new one or the one that happened earlier today. I don't have any ongoing reports of that, but I think you're talking about the Target fire from earlier today, and we were covering that. We did some live coverage on that as the helicopters were coming in, Elizabeth, so wasn't forgetting about you guys in any way. We were on that one as well. Did some live coverage between about 1:30 and 2 something this afternoon as that thing was going. We could see that on traffic cameras and a bunch of different places. So right now, though, we're focused on this fire that is off to the southeast of Colorado Springs. Again, weather situation hasn't changed much. Good news here, over the next few hours, it will. As we see, the atmosphere usually tends to settle down a little bit at night unless there's a big, large-scale feature that's kind of coming through the area. And we do have that jet streak that's overhead, but that is going to move off to the northeast here this evening. So you can see this computer model between now and in the later part of the evening is picking up more of a westerly component, and that is coming with a decrease in the wind speed. So that's good news. That much of a shift isn't a huge issue for the firefighters. They're more concerned about 90-degree or more wind shifts, things like that. And so the lighter wind is certainly good news. That is something that we are certainly look forward to. But you know what? The wind is going to pick back up tomorrow. Let me show you that. So red flag warning is back up on Thursday for almost the exact same areas that had it today. What is different tomorrow is that Lake County and Chaffee County are not included. Let me see tomorrow's. So it's late morning through the middle part of the evening. Same areas that were, under one today, because here's what happens tomorrow. You ready? Let me show you this. In the early morning, we may have some wind along the eastern slopes of some of the mountain areas. You see that brighter, more intense orange there. West of Denver, kind of west of the Springs on the Rampart Range, the east sides of Pikes Peak, and also along the Sangre de Cristos and the Wet Mountains. So there'll be some downslope flow that continues overnight and areas where we get some occasional gusts. Now, during the day tomorrow, we are behind a cold front, so our temperatures will be cooler. The upper level system of today is pulling away. And that gives us more of a westerly component when the winds are strongest tomorrow. And notice how the computer model is actually picking up stronger gusts than it was showing for today. I think it's probably closer to reality tomorrow because there's some pressure gradient stuff that is driving it in addition to just some momentum transport from the upper levels of the atmosphere. But is this a fire day? Oh yeah, for sure it is. Wind gusts tomorrow, dew points, and humidities tomorrow are going to be low like they were today. So we're not out of the woods yet on this fire. So we need to get out in front of this thing here this evening. And you see an even stronger cold front coming in from the north tomorrow afternoon that is going to pull our temperatures back even more for Friday. So here's what I've got for the extended forecast in Colorado Springs. So you see that front on Thursday maybe doesn't do enough. It kind of comes in, goes back out. That might actually have been some outflow from some thunderstorms that we saw there as well. But here's what I want you to know about the extended forecast. What do you not see there? We've been around 80 the last 2 days in Colorado Springs. Pattern change, right? That's going to be nice. Our fire weather concerns after Thursday and Friday are going to come down some. We won't be as windy Friday as we're going to be tomorrow or as we were today. We might have a couple of areas of some fire weather concerns where we get that wind around 25 miles per hour and the humidity level around 15%. Not as extreme as we were today and not as high as we'll be tomorrow. But over on Sunday, we get a chance of some thunderstorms. And in the Pikes Peak region, we're kind of on the tail end of some showers that I think will be east of the mountains. And then look at the middle to late part of next week. There is maybe a chance of something that is maybe a little bit more sustained. Now, I have said that before a couple times here over the last few months. And what's been happening is as those things get a little bit closer, they look a little bit less exciting. But this pattern change is a little bit different. So let me show you what we are looking at here. Let me pull up this computer model. I'm going to edit the time here, and I'm going to back up a little bit. Okay, because I want to watch these things develop. So right now I am going through the 27th, which is early next week, right? So that's Monday, and we want to go to the 30th. So hold on here. We're just doing this in real time. Friends hanging out, neighbors helping neighbors, you know? Okay. All right. Let me put this back in here so I can use these pauses. Okay, let's take this thing forward in time. So we've got this system right now that's up to our north. And you see how there's a big area of low pressure. We get these waves kind of rotating around the southern periphery or fringes of this bigger area of low pressure. One of them gets caught up here. It's out over the ocean and comes across the area for the weekend. And you see that happening here as we head into Sunday. So on Saturday afternoon, maybe we start to pick up some showers over the mountain areas. I also think that we are going to see some low-level moisture over northeastern Colorado that develops some showers and thunderstorms Saturday evening. it's possible that parts of our far eastern plains catch some of that. I'm not sold on that yet, but we'll see. Then as that system comes overhead Sunday, we get kind of our best chance in the Pikes Peak region, and I think for our local mountain communities as well. With where this jet is with this thing, southeastern Colorado, like Pueblo, out toward La Junta, Los Animas, and south, I don't think you get much unless we see a shift to the south a little bit. But we head into next week, and look what happens. We still have some kinks in the flow off to the west there. And those are going to get caught up in the flow. Oops, I jumped ahead too much there. And when it does, this is maybe our chance at something a little bit more interesting. That's a little bit farther south than the thing I showed you over the weekend, which means that maybe we have a better chance of some moisture in southern Colorado. And that would be nice because we could use a day and a half, 2-day type prolonged kind of rain event with maybe some snow up across the Palmer Divide. It is a long ways away. It's a week away. But don't get too excited about it. I want to see, if it looks like that in 3 days from now, I'll be a little bit more excited. Okay, we do have a new pre-evacuation area that has been ordered now. And this is farther to the north. So this is now to the north of Squirrel Creek Road, and the roads that are bounded on this are as follows. So now we have a pre-evacuation warning for Hammer Road to Peyton and Squirrel Creek Road to Clements. So it's a little bit to the north of where we were before, which makes sense, right? Because we've been talking about this, that the fire is blowing off to the northeast. So this is for an area to get ready. And the fact that we are still getting these obviously tells us that they are still having a hard time getting in front of this. And their ability to do that is still a little bit in question. And on radar, it's not really useful anymore to track that. Visible satellite, we're going to start really losing the daylight here. You can see that happening. Let me see if I can turn up the sensitivity on the radar a little bit, if that helps. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, no. Kind of showing a little bit more there. I was kind of filtering out some of the lower end stuff to get rid of some of the noise for you, but yeah. So crew, this is a, serious situation out there for the folks that are out in this area. So please keep them in your prayers. If you're somebody that prays, I am. If you are somebody that kind of just thinks about things, whatever you do, whatever works for you, I would recommend doing right now. So obviously it's been a really, really dry winter around here, and everything out there is a little bit crispy. That doesn't help the situation either that we have going on. Let me see. I'm going to look at a couple things here real quick. Did any of you get any blowing dust today? I didn't have any at my place. I wonder if in the San Luis Valley we did. If you're watching from there, or if you saw some, let me know. I thought that was a bit of a possibility today with how the wind was and how dry things are. Okay. All right. pop into our social media here. Jennifer is, people are popping in and out. So some of what we end up doing here is we repeat some things. Jennifer's asking the question that we've talked about a couple other times, and we can completely do that. That is a really cute dog, by the way. Over the next couple of hours, two things will happen, Jennifer. And I think there are things, certainly one of them, that is going to help the firefighters. It's that the stronger gusts are going to pull back some. So, we're at 7 o'clock now, and watch what happens between now and over the next 2.5 hours or so. In particular, down where the fire is off to the southeast of Colorado Springs. I mean, the air's still going to be moving around, but we are going to take the gusts that have been at or over 40 miles per hour in the vicinity of the fire, probably over the last 2 hours, and we're going to pull them back a little bit. There may also be a little bit of a turn to the west more than southwest as that happens. Again, I think the most important thing is the decrease in the speed. Humidity, not going to recover too much. Dew point, not going to change too much. But man, the quicker we can get that wind to pull back a little bit, and remember, fire tends to generate its own, especially if you got hot air from the flames and you have some sort of vertical movement, air's coming in to replace that stuff. So, we're going to pull that back a little bit over the last few hours. Nikki says the wind has been vicious in Fountain all day long, which isn't good news, right? That's part of what fanned this thing as it got going and has led us to this situation where we've got these the evacuation here and the pre-evacuation. If you're just joining us, I know a lot of you aren't in this area because the people in this area are doing stuff. They are getting out of the way of this thing. But from Myers Road, or no, they changed it, the actual evacuation area, Hanover Road on the south up to Squirrel Creek, and from Hammer over to Peyton Highway, and that's the evacuation area. And then a little bit farther to the north of there is the pre-evacuation area. And so that goes up to the north of Squirrel Creek, and that one is for, let me find that again, Squirrel Creek all the way up north to Clements, and from Hammer to Peyton. So those folks getting ready. Pre-evacuation, what does that mean? Well, it means, A, you don't have to wait to be told to go. You can voluntarily evacuate if you feel like you are, if you're in danger, go. But get prepared to leave or leave now. An evacuation means there's imminent threat to life and property, and the order is to leave immediately. And they're getting people out of the way of potential flames. I don't have any word from what I know yet if anything has burned. And let's pray that that is not the case. Wow, that thing has grown a bunch this afternoon. Okay, so a Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control multi-mission aircraft flew over the fire or around the fire and estimates the fire at 4,200 acres. Previously, we were thinking it was about 750 acres. So this thing has changed a lot. I don't have an official perimeter yet that I can show you. That probably won't be available until some point during the overnight hours, but I'm going to check just in case. It takes it a little bit, obviously, for that to go through the systems and everything. As you can imagine, there's data that needs to be processed. But Let me see if I'm going to search through the table of that data set and see if the hammer fire is in there. I don't know why it would be as of yet, but check. Yeah, it's not in there. Okay, but off to the southeast of Pueblo, blowing to the northeast, are going to see the wind pull back a little bit over the next few hours. That is my forecast. Models have been showing that for a few days here with how the atmosphere tends to settle down a little bit at night. That should be the case. Let's look at velocity and see what we can see. So radar, how it works is the energy from the radar beam, it will bounce off of anything. Dust particles, bugs, smoke particulates in this case today, like we have seen. So I'm going to put on the velocity here and loop this over the last 2 hours. Yeah, not a lot going on there. Yeah, it's tough to use. That tool's not really helping us right now, unfortunately, with what's happening. But we do have new updates. We can look at current conditions have come in. Man, 20 minutes went by in that little bit. Out here I was waiting for the update wind to come in. It's been 20 minutes. So we're still around 40 in Pueblo, right? We're probably still around 40 in the vicinity of the fire. Humidity, still super low, 4%. Dew point, -1 in Pueblo. Just bone dry air. Still out of the southwest in Pueblo. Colorado Springs, still out of the southwest as well. And so that's the prevailing wind direction here. And so again, that's going to keep blowing this thing off to the northeast. So in these areas of evacuation and evacuation notices off to the northeast of the fire, is where we need to be thinking about these folks. So from the high school in Hanover off to the north along Milne, along Peyton Highway, up toward Powers. And you can see here where, you know, there are a few places off here to the northwest of the high school. So there's the high school in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. You see a few homes here along DeGroot, along Milne, along Myers, along, Dally View, DeGroot. And then you get up on Milne a little bit farther to the north on Powers, and you find some additional homes as well that for the most part tend to be on the east side of Milne until you get up around Holman. And then you see a couple dozen homes in this area. And these might be the ones at greatest risk in here. So God be with you, folks. And then a little farther to the north, you see that there are homes on both sides of Milne. And you hit there's a fence line right here where this is a property line running west, because you go north of there on Milne Road and then we don't see anything. That looks like a water tank. Yeah, is what that looks like for cows. All the way up to Squirrel Creek Road. Everything is east of that road. So then you get to Squirrel Creek and Peyton Highway, and then we're in that pre-evacuation area that's up to the north of there. So here's about right where I am on that new map that, I got to be honest, is great, from the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. It was out yesterday at a press conference they had. Since I know we've had some in and out here, I'm going to show you. This is a couple minutes long here, but this was just yesterday when they had a press conference talking about this tool that I'm showing you right now. And then, my friends, I want to take an opportunity to help you and your family be ready. Peaks to Plains Weather is our weather together. Here is a moment to be prepared. Recently, I went to a press conference that was held by the City of Colorado Springs, the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, and the El Paso Teller 911 Authority, because they have a new real-time interactive map on the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management website that has evacuation notices, shelter in place, weather alerts, all kind of information that can help you and your family when there is an ongoing emergency situation in El Paso and Teller counties.
The goal is simple. It's help people understand what is happening, where it's happening, and what to do. The map provides real-time integration with official emergency alerts, and it is directly connected to peak alerts or our emergency notification system. It includes the instant areas, including searchable street-level data, evacuation zones and statuses, which can be a shelter-in-place order, an evacuation warning, or an evacuation order.
And so you see there the things that they had set up for the press conference event. Of course, those were all test things that weren't actually happening. But here is a look at that map in real time. And you can see how you can zoom in on it. You can zoom out. You can use the search tab up at the top left there to put in maybe the kid's school or something like that. On the right-hand side, you see all of the layers that are built into that system. And so you can imagine that in a real-time event, how useful that can be. Because if I go back to, the Waldo Canyon fire, the Black Forest fire, other events that have happened in the area in the past, people have shared, these things that are a screen capture of a map that you couldn't do anything with. And people would be like, am I in this? Am I out of this? Am I evacuated? Am I not evacuated? And so they make this really easy. Through peak alerts, when one of these things is issued, you will get the notification if you are impacted, and a link to the map will be included. Now, Ben Bales, who's the public information officer for the Pikes Peak, for the El Paso Teller 911 Authority, I should say, he said that only 18 to 20% of our community is signed up for peak alerts. He encourages you to sign up today.
I've been in the 911 world for 25 years now, and I've been around for the Waldo Canyon and the Black Forest fires, and I know the pain points and the struggles that we had during those times with alert and warning and just getting information in general. But if there's a call to action from today, is to take 2 minutes while you have it today and sign up for emergency alerts to make sure that you get that information that pertains to your safety if an emergency occurs where you live, work, and play. It just takes a second. If you have elderly neighbors, elderly relatives, and they're not tech savvy, please give them a hand. And if somebody else needs assistance that's out there that may see this, you can call 719-785-1971, and a member of our staff will create that profile for you. But peakalerts.org, one-stop shop to sign up for emergency alerts, and that way you're looped into both what the emergency is, and you'll get a link to this map that's interactive so you can have some situational awareness to what's happening around you.
So here's what we're looking at now. This is the real time. Just yesterday they had the press conference that I went to, and here today we're using it. So kudos to them for the timeliness of that, and kudos to them for this useful tool. Because back in the day, during Waldo and during Black Forest, we would have to grab screen captures or save the images that went with these things when they would put a map out like that, and it was confusing for everybody. As you heard there, this interactivity that we've been doing together on here is really, really nice. So, I hope that the fire is west of Milne Road. I really do. obviously they're concerned about it getting to the east of there, to the north of Hanover here and off to the east of Fountain, given with how the evacuations have gone. What was initially a little bit smaller pre-evacuation area than the now red evacuation area, and then a new pre-evacuation area, just tells me that obviously given the weather conditions, they're having a hard time with this thing. And 4,200 acres in an afternoon is some explosive growth of a fire. If you're out in this area now that we are starting to get dark here, oh shoot, what was I just saying? Oh yeah, if you're on Facebook, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, you can add like if you're out here and you see some glow or something like that, you can put that in the comments, and that will allow me to pull that right up here. So let's see, Greg at the airport. He says it's kicking up smoky haze particulates into the air. Yep, we've seen that. Jennifer says there's a solar farm out there that is complicating things. Brenna just said that the Pikes Peak Office of Emergency Management is excellent. This is a great tool that they gave us here. Okay. All right, just wanted to make sure that somebody didn't have a question or... Okay. Well, crew, nothing has really changed, but I'm going to just hang out here. I mean, this is, if it helps you, if you're not in this area, I mean, I know nobody in this area is watching. They shouldn't be. They need to be getting themselves out of there. But if this is helpful for you, that's kind of what it is what we're here for. It's what Peaks to Plains weather is all about. So, I'm hoping in a couple of hours we're getting better reports from the ground and we don't get any additional evacuation or pre-evacuation order things here. Man, 4,200 acres, that is wild. That's a lot of growth in an afternoon, my friends. Okay. Let's see. It's harder to do coverage of this when you lose some of the tools. Like radar's not helpful anymore, really. The visible satellite, where we could see the plume earlier, right in here, has gone away. And that's just part of it, right? That's why you try to have as many tools as possible. There's no traffic cameras out in that area. We did get, Adam jumped on earlier, and he did show us the smoke plume that from where he was really low to the ground, which is an indication of how fast the winds are going. And again, they were up around 45 miles per hour in the area a little bit earlier. We'll walk you through kind of how that went through the afternoon. If you are just joining us, you were at work today. There was a fire in Pueblo that started actually right at 1:30. Here's what it looked like. Called the Target Fire. It was burning back behind Target, behind the mall there down in Fountain Creek. I'm sure Target loved the name of that. But they got this great photograph here from Angelo Pena as a helicopter was coming in to drop water on that thing. And it looks like you can see some flames, I think, in there in the trees. But they got a handle on that thing. Man, kudos to the firefighting men, women, the pilots, the support crews getting that thing knocked down. Because here's what was interesting about what happened in Pueblo. So from 1:30 to 2 o'clock, the wind was still light. This is the gust, so the sustained wind at that time was about 5-6 miles per hour. In contrast to Colorado Springs and Walsenburg, that were rocking around, upper 30s to 40. So thankfully, we had this little window where the wind wasn't as strong as it ended up getting in Pueblo, because then as we hit the middle to late part of the afternoon, the gusts just kept coming up, and we peaked out here About dinner time, we were 40 to 45 miles per hour. We had there's just south of Canyon there on the wets. Looks like we had a station that popped up to around 50 with that coloring there on my color table. We hit 6 o'clock. We were between 40 and 45. And the fire, we can use these stations at the Colorado Springs Airport and the Pueblo Airport to completely approximate what is happening at the fire location in terms of the wind perspective. And so there you go, and we're running 40 miles per hour on the gusts right now. If we drill down on the details for both of these stations and get the full kind of, full weather picture here, start in Pueblo, south of the fire. Dew points -1 actually. Do you know how often the rest of the country gets negative dew points? Usually it's in the middle of winter. Welcome to being in the lee of the Rocky Mountains. There are often times we have some of the driest air in the country, even compared to like Arizona and New Mexico, when we have this downslope flow like we do right now. And the humidity is 4%. Colorado Springs, winds out of the southwest, 22, gusting to 40. Dew points 4, humidity 7. I'm going to pull up Fort Carson at the airfield there, southwest at 26, gusting to 38. So there's a kind of, you can triangulate what's happening at the fire by using all of that information there. So there you go. But the good news is over the next 6 hours, where unlike the previous 6 hours, we saw the wind gusts come up, I think we're going to see them come down a little bit. So for those of you that have been coming in and out, and I see the numbers changing, I see you here, I think that's good. Like, I don't expect you to sit here and watch this for hours on end. I know you got stuff to do, but there is interest, and so we're going to keep doing this. But I'll take you from where we are right now, and the model's not doing a great job of showing the current situation, but I think its idea is right. So is it maybe a little bit underdone by 9 o'clock? Perhaps. Is maybe 20, 25 more realistic for what is happening out at the fire? Probably. And then we head a little bit deeper into the overnight. And you can see that, we stay a little bit breezy in places. Right? And that's why the red flag warning is up until midnight, which is really, really late. Usually you don't see that. Usually 7, 8 o'clock, sometimes 9 o'clock, we see that come down because the wind pulls back and the humidity comes up. But it's not happening tonight. And on the night where we have this fire, that is not good. Okay, I'm going to look for something someone just told me to look for. Hold on here, I'm going to do a little Google searching. Because someone in the area told me that there's a camera across from the Hanover school. And I don't think that's a CDOT camera. Let me look. Never seen one out there. Doesn't mean I've missed it. I've missed milk in the fridge when I'm looking for milk in the fridge. Like I'm staring right at it sometimes and I don't see it. Typical man thing, right? Yeah, I don't know what that is. Melissa, if you want to DM me where that is, that might help me. I'll pull that up. But I don't see it. However, I am going to check. Just kind of running down some CDOT cams here. See if I can see plume on anything. Okay, let me hold on a second. Give me a moment. I'm going to do something in real time here. I was thinking that we might be able to see it on this camera. I don't know if we can, but I'm going to pull it up anyways because there's something I want to show you. Okay. All right. All right, hold on, crew. Let's use. I'll do this here. What do we want to use? Okay, so here's South Academy in the Springs, and I'm going to add a different camera to this, farther to the south. I'm going to go down to Midway, farther south on I-25, but I've got to put this in here. Put this in here for you. Oh, look, my wife is bringing me water because she doesn't want me to drink these things. Thanks. She's been trying to get me off caffeine. These things aren't that bad. I mean, they're carbonated. I think that's not good for you, but I think they're delicious. Okay. What I wanted to show you here on this Midway camera is that the flagpoles are still bouncing around. Okay, so all right. Check this out. And it's looking off to the north here, so I was thinking we might be able to catch this from where it is. But man, I don't see it there. But you see the camera shaking around there a little bit? And again, that's not South Academy, it's Midway. I'm doing this in real time. Give me some grace. I'll change this. There you go. And save this for later in case we need it. Okay. I just want to watch this a little bit because, man, with really where this is and where it's looking, I'm really surprised we don't see that. But obviously we don't. But you see that it's still windy there. I mean, the camera is still bouncing around, right? Okay, I have a picture that Mary got from Monica Mills, who is out in that area, and I am going to pull this up here. On the weather computer, so hold on a second. Pull this up for you, and it'll give you an idea that the plume here is a little bit different, of course. Okay. All right, let me pull it in a different way, sorry. You know, we had a big computer crash this afternoon, and I was getting some assistance with that, and I am logged in. I just realized I forgot I need to log out. I'm like this super user on this computer, and I don't have a tool that I need, so I've got to move this to somewhere else, but we can do that. We can always make it work. Okay, here we go. So again, you're going to see some of this, happening here in real time, which is fine. Like it just doesn't need to be as, TV land. We would, hey, you talk about something because I got to get something ready. And I don't know if things need to be that kind of polished to be useful. So, okay. So I'm going to switching this old thing here because what I want to show you is this. Okay, so this is from, again, Mary got this. By the way, did you know Mary Matthews is joining Peaks to Plains weather crew? That's right, 2 chiefs in one place. So this is from Monica Mills in the Hanover area. Thank you, Monica, for sharing that. And so that's what people out in this area are looking at here. She's, I don't see any flames in that shot, so she's quite a ways away. It looks like there's a ridge right there. It must go down a little bit to where the fire is. But you can see the smoke a little bit thicker, kind of on the east side. The Hanover area looks like she's kind of looking off to the north, given that it's brighter on the left-hand side of the screen. Tells me she's kind of looking to the north there, is my guess. Monica, thank you for that. So we're sitting here 7:45. We've been on for, I don't know how long here. Getting a couple questions about Lorson Ranch. Should Lorson Ranch prepare to evacuate? Edge, this is moving away from you. The fire's burning off to the northeast. It's already east of you. I love seeing you guys kind of answer each other. And Edge says, thank you. So there you go. Neighbors helping neighbors, man. That's what Peaks to Plains is all about. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that we are going to see the wind pull back a little bit here over the next hour and a half. Hopefully, the worst is behind us. For everybody involved, firefighters, residents, everything, we hope that is the case. We've fallen back from our high of 80 in the Springs to 70 right now. In Pueblo, we were in the upper 80s earlier. We're sitting at 80 on the nose. But that wind is still gusty out there, and that is the biggest cause of concern for the firefighters at this point, because it's still running somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 to 45 miles per hour. And obviously that has produced explosive growth this afternoon of the fire. That in an aircraft that went overhead looks like it's 4,200 acres is the estimation. I don't have word as to if they did infrared mapping or if they flew over and they know how big sections are and they just did some quick math. But that was from the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control. So there was a multi-mission aircraft that was in there. So that's a lot of growth in a fire here in an afternoon. Edge also says that it looks terrible from Lorson Ranch on the southeast side of the Fountain area. I don't doubt that in any way. And so, like I said before, my thoughts, my prayers are with the people that are in the vicinity of this fire. And again, this is being driven by the heart of a storm that isn't close to us. And you see a circulation there up across the Montana and Wyoming line, but we do have the jet associated with that in our area. As this loop comes back through, I'm going to put the jet stream on there. And this is what we call a jet streak. And so it's an area of enhanced wind. And here's what's happening. So you have this jet streak that is, obviously the flow is curving through this thing like this, right? But there are a couple areas in here of some enhancement. See that right there? And you see that right there? So this first one, and we're kind of losing the signs of it now, but this was a more defined, what we call jet streak here. And if you orient yourself along the direction of flow and you split it in half, a north and south side, and then you take what we call the minor axis of the jet streak and you kind of put those jet streaks into quadrants, you get a couple different areas of vertical motion associated with these things. In the right exit quadrant, where we are, so in this right exit quadrant right here, that's an area of subsidence or sinking air. And the direction of flow kind of out ahead of this trough axis today and with this jet streak is oriented kind of perpendicular to the Sangre de Cristo's wet mountains. All of that together helps to transport momentum down to the surface with falling pressures over the plains as we get that dry line to develop. And there's some thunderstorms a little bit farther to our north up across South Dakota this evening. All of that helps some of that stronger wind up at the mid levels of the atmosphere come down to the surface. That's what the computer model wasn't seeing, right? It wasn't seeing how deep the atmosphere was turned over today. And that's why I've been talking about for the last few days that the peak gusts were underdone with that. In fact, let me see. This will be through 6 o'clock. What the peak gusts were today. Oops. Just because I'm interested to see what we got up to. Keep in mind, it's possible for Pueblo that it occurred after 6 o'clock because that was our strongest gust of the day from what I saw. Sometimes you can get gusts that are a little bit stronger in between the hourly or hourly observations. In Colorado Springs today, the highest gust was 50 miles per hour at the Colorado Springs Airport. That's nothing to sneeze at. And in Pueblo, it was 42. That's through 6:30. So a little bit stronger in Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs, the wind picked up earlier this morning. And was a little bit stronger during the day. But the fire obviously between those two areas. And so you'll see this here on the computer model that had the right idea that Pueblo's wind got stronger during the afternoon. But it was underdoing the speeds and still into this evening here. And there it caught a 40 in Pueblo. So finally caught up a little bit. But, we should see some lighter speeds coming here over the next couple of hours. So that's good news. Let's see. Looking on Hanover Fire. Scanning for some info here. All right. Situation hasn't changed much. Come back to this. So we currently have an evacuation area and a pre-evacuation area. So the evacuation area in red there runs from Hanover Road up to Squirrel Creek Road and goes from Hammer on the west over to Peyton Highway and then comes up north here to Squirrel Creek. Then north of that, we have a pre-evacuation area. So obviously it's Squirrel Creek Road on the south, and it's Clements on the north, and from Hammer to Peyton, so the same kind of bounded areas on the west and the east. So that hasn't changed here in, I think, the last hour, I want to say. So again, we're off to the southeast, Colorado Springs. Let's grab our mapping tool here. So you see Fountain and Hanover. So we're kind of northwest of Hanover, somewhere in the vicinity of 4 to 5 miles, and 7 to 8 or 9 miles now off to the southeast of Fountain. That's kind of where, and I think the fire started a little to the southwest of there this afternoon. Let's see. So it was somewhere back in here, I want to say, and then has blown off to the northeast, obviously, with the southwest wind. Whoops, I thought I was showing that to you. With the southeast wind there. So that's kind of the story. That's our breakdown of what we know. There is information that we will learn here through the overnight. It's big enough that, given that the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, I think is the name of it, already has an aircraft up checking out the size of the fire. We probably will get an outline of the fire overnight. Man, we also had a fire. This is the first time I've seen this out in Kit Carson County. Today we had a fire. So look at updates on that. That was 3 hours ago. There were immediate evacuations. This is just to the west of Flagler. So that's up on the interstate, I-70. And let's see. Haven't seen anything in additional since then, so hopefully they got that thing under control. I mean, obviously, crew, a day, some days you go into them and you just have this feeling that there are going to be fires. Today was one of those days, and unfortunately, that's how it's worked out here. So I really, really hope that no one has lost their home today. I am going to rest in that hope here as we approach 8 o'clock, that everybody's okay. Obviously, that's always the first thing. Human lives, okay, and then property. Because, if you're watching from your house right now, you can imagine how devastating that would be, right? So, and the thought of, doors being knocked on takes a lot of folks back to other big fires that we've had around southern Colorado. There's been a number of them since we've gotten into this century. It's part of life in our state, and it doesn't matter what time of year. Okay, Emery, I'm going to ask you what you mean here. So Emery just popped in. Says, I'm in Hanover, 1 or 2 miles west of the high school on Hanover Road. So he's right on the southern edge of this evacuation area. Okay. And his comment is they really need to work on these evacuation orders. So I guess my question for you, Emery, would be, what exactly do you mean by that? Can you expand a little bit? And this isn't the time to necessarily be overtly critical of first responders. I mean, obviously there is a component of, quick decisions and whatnot that has to happen with this. So Emery says the evacuation southernmost area should be further north from Hanover Road. I mean, we can rest in that, right? Like that there's some comfort maybe in them being overly cautious, perhaps. But you certainly get the sense that, there's more concern up on the northern half of this, since there's a pre-evacuation area up to the north, and we know that the fires burn in northeast. So I understand your concern, and thank you for sharing it, Emery. That's one of the things we get to do here is we get to talk about this. We get to bring it all to the table. You get to be critical of me. You get to be critical of, things like this that are happening. I mean, Emery is directly affected by this. So Emery, are you north of Hanover Road? Like, have you been asked to leave? Are you in the evacuation area? I'd be interested to know, since you're sitting here watching tonight, and so I'm glad, happy to be doing that. I'd also ask you, Emery, if you've heard if there have been any loss of structures out there. I'm sure everybody is texting each other out there, making sure, like, hey, is Jim's house okay? Is Roberto's house okay? Have you heard from Steve? All that kind of stuff. Out in the country, man, people take care of each other in a big way. So if you have anything else to add there, Emery. So since we're kind of hanging out here, crew, he says, no, none. That's good news. Thank you, sir. That, as I said, I am going to rest in that. I'm really, really thankful for that. And let's hope that continues to be the case. Wouldn't that be good news? You get this fire that starts as nothing and is over 4,000 acres now from, the flyover that's been done by the multi-mission aircraft. I'm not saying that right. Let me make sure I say it right here. Multi-mission aircraft, MMA. There we go. I can remember MMA. Multi-mission aircraft that's flown over. So I'll take a moment here and just say kudos to the firefighters that go into these things and run toward these things. We often, maybe you're somebody that doesn't think about that kind of thing, that does think about that kind of thing. But they, I've spent time with some of these wildland firefighters, have done some weather training with them, have got to learn a little bit about their makeup, what they are about, and they want to serve. Okay, so just some more information on Emery. He says we are in the evacuation area. He's just north of Hanover, and no one has come by for that matter. He says, haven't seen anything burning from where we are. We can't smell the smoke. That makes sense because you are south of it, so the smoke plume's blowing away from you. But we can see the smoke, but it's a long way off. So, let's rest in that. And obviously, they're knocking on doors in other areas that are closer to the fire and whatnot. He says he's having coffee, staying aware and alert. We work hard to keep our property closely mowed and fire prepared, and that is something really, really important, is preparation. From, when I was at that press conference yesterday, it's about being prepared. It's easy to sit here and say, That won't happen to me till it does. And it's like what I said earlier in the pre-evacuation area. If you don't feel safe, what's the harm of leaving? What's the harm of taking a weekend, even if you live in the city? Right? Like I live on the west side of Colorado Springs. I'm in the wildland urban interface is what we call it. People in my neighborhood have taken out a lot of those nasty junipers that we planted in the 70s when this neighborhood was built, because those things are waxy. Those things want to burn really easy. Why not take them out? Make it harder for a fire to move through the area. Southwest side of the Springs, I know they've done a lot of work to take trees out, get things off the ground, get the canopy up a little bit to try to make it more difficult for a fire to move through the area. Emory doing that here. Different area than I am, obviously, but keeping the grass low, trying to be fire prepared. Kudos to you, sir. Plus, he's drinking coffee, so he gets bonus points for that. I got to get up tomorrow morning and be back in here and do, I got forecast stuff to do, like when we're done with this. I did a long-term update this afternoon that pushed out on the app while we were doing this, but I got a short-term forecast because as soon as I'm done here,
as an emergency room physician,
I just took you back to the 24-hour channel real quick. So there you go. Okay. All right. 8 o'clock. Let's check out the new, should have had new weather obs, column obs. Every industry has its slang, right? This is weather. We call them obs. Good news here. Nice. Forecast verification. We talked about this. Now, is 30 great? No. Is it better than 40? Yes. It is better than 40. And over the next hour, I think we'll continue to see the wind pull back a little bit. So let's say we get it down to, if we're sitting at 20 or 25 in the next little bit, that would be great. That certainly would help the firefighters. So what we have been talking about from a, what do we expect to happen, looks like it's working out. There's a couple reasons for it. Now, this is not good. This 6 in the Springs and models, we live in a part of the country, crew, where it is hard to mathematically model what the atmosphere is going to do because the terrain makes it so hard. There's a little wind shift line out here. You can see that running from Lyman kind of back into Colorado Springs. And maybe what the model is doing, how it was going more west, is it's kind of sagging that in. Yeah, kind of looks like that's what's happening. But one of the reasons that you tend to see wind speed, wind gusts, usually come down at night is there's this bottom layer of the atmosphere that we call the boundary layer. Okay? And at night, as inversions set up, you lose the heating of the sun, this boundary layer, the depth of the boundary layer goes like this. Then the sun comes up, you start getting energy from the sun, and the boundary layer expands, and the atmosphere is more easily turned over to a higher level in the atmosphere. And typically what happens is, the higher you get in the sky, the less friction there is, the quicker the wind speeds are. And so if you're turning over the atmosphere from a higher layer, your wind speeds that you experience at the surface are higher. Whether it's a windy weather day or not doesn't really matter. But at night, when the boundary layer goes like this, the wind tends to pull back a little bit. There are exceptions to that. Just to our east, there's something called a low-level jet that works a little bit different than that. Hold on a second. Okay. So we've got a new photo from where we were before and a comment that says it doesn't look as bad as it was earlier. So I'm going to try to get that photo in here. And while I am doing that, Brenna, who's out in this area, says, what a great comment. This area will encounter a rapid amount of urban development in the next 10 to 15 years. I do think it's important to keep properties cleared. 100% agree on that, the forecast of growth and your comment. No doubt about that. Denise popping in. She's saying, we are grateful that Palmer Park has been mitigated. She must live in the vicinity of that. She says that undoubtedly helped keep the arson fire small this morning. Yeah, Denise, I think you're right. You know, you can get fuel out of the way of the fire. That obviously always helps. So again, we've been using this new map from Peak Alerts, the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. We haven't seen any changes on these evacuation areas here over the last little bit. All right, let me try to get this picture in here for you. Okay. My hope is that the worst of the fire growth is behind us, given what we've been looking at here and what we've been expecting for the last couple of days in terms of what the wind's likely to do overnight. But we're not going to be done with this thing because tomorrow, unfortunately, we do it all over again. Now, we're going to have a couple of differences tomorrow. One is that we won't be as warm as today. And usually that helps the humidity be a little bit higher. But that's not how it's going to work out tomorrow. In fact, I'll show you the weather grids here. I really like these things because we can see a lot of data at once, and we can kind of make some inferences. This is just kind of a different way to look at on the large scale what's happening. So here's Pueblo, and this is one of the spots we've been using to kind of approximate in the vicinity of the fire here. And you can see tomorrow that we'll get to, you know, probably in the low 70s. And the wind picks back up. Now, the computer here is seeing it more out of kind of the northwest in Pueblo tomorrow. But look at the humidity down on the bottom. Still 9% at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So there's no improvement necessarily on that front. Colorado Springs, same deal. More of a west-northwest component to the wind, kind of westerly during the day. Early in the morning, we get a shift here to the north. That's something we typically see. What happens, there's a mountain plain circulation. I have a graphic that shows this. Hold on a second. This is why you get ready for stuff ahead of time. So because of how the terrain warms up over the mountains, like it, you know, the actual ground makes the mountains, let's say you're on the side of the mountains, right? Like let's say you're at Green Mountain Falls. If you could take the elevation of Green Mountain Falls and just go straight out across the plains, the temperature of Green Mountain Falls is higher than just the air over, let's say, Hanover at that elevation. And so that creates this area of relative low pressure over the higher terrain when the sun is up that pulls the wind up the slope of the mountains during the day. It's the same kind of physics that happen with the sea breeze if you're, you know, from an area around the ocean or a big lake. At night, it kind of switches around and we get the cool air to come down the higher terrain and flow toward the Arkansas River, in our case here in southern Colorado. And so not only do you get wind coming off the slopes of Pikes Peak, but you also get it coming off of the Palmer Divide, and it's kind of flowing down. And so unless there's something big like today, some large scale thing that's kind of overtaking that, because obviously today we had southwest flow off the hills, but as the pressure gradient relaxes a little bit overnight, and we have that little wind shift line, I think that plays a part in it. We get a little bit of north wind into early tomorrow. Now, even though it's only a couple of hours, could that be a help to the firefighters? Heck yes. Well, why, Matt? Why might that help the firefighters? Well, if we get north wind for a little bit, it pushes the fire, tries to push the fire back onto areas it's already burned, or certainly slows that northeastward advancement. So that might be some good news. And then it's going to be tough again during the day tomorrow. The fire's going to want to wake up. So I know they're going to keep hammering this thing here overnight. James is popping in here. He says he's a retired wildland firefighter. He says, yeah, I'm talking about the wind from the large scale perspective, but, the wind, the fire's making its own weather. We've talked about that here in the last couple of hours. I certainly would rather have it be, lighter on the environmental wind than higher for sure. And I think you would agree with that out there, James. So let's hope that, we get a window here overnight where we can get some lines around it. I don't know if they've got, bigger equipment on the way out there, but obviously they're going to keep working this thing, especially since we know there are homes. We've been zooming in on those things, where they are. It's been a while since we've done that, so maybe it's time to do that again, right? So I'm going to reorient us here off to the southeast of the Springs between Fountain and Hanover. The fire started somewhere out in this area. This is probably not exact, so please don't hold me to that. The large scale wind today blowing this thing rapidly, right? Since it's up to 4,200 acres off to the northeast. And that plume that was active earlier may not be as active now. In fact, I was working on that picture that, shows that it isn't. So that's some good news. But in the vicinity of where the fire has been blowing, we do have some homes. So I'm going to kind of zoom in to the Hanover area here, and we'll find Hanover Road pops up right here. There it is. And here's Hammer. So this is the southwestern corner of this evacuation area that has been issued. And again, if you're just joining us, this is the new mapping system that they have at the Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management. It's interactive, it's real time. You can put addresses in there. The cool thing for people that had signed up ahead of time and were prepared for peak alerts, they got the peak alert. They could click on a link that came with that and opened them right up to this map. So they can put in their address. They can, if they're not sure, if they're in it, they can do that. But so we're on the southwestern corner here of this evacuation area, right? And so north on Hammer Road from Hanover, we come up here, the road curves a little bit, and my mapping system says that this is still Hammer Road. I'm going to take its word for it. Here's a couple of homes. A little ranch area probably. Okay. Now I'm going to come back down, and I'm going to come here. So we talked to Emery, who is says he's in the vicinity here of Hanover, and I think he said Peyton Highway. He at least says he's on the southern end around Hanover Road, right? And so we go north from Hanover Road, and you can see here that there are some homes that are dotted here and there. So these are some acreages of maybe 5-10 acres, something like that. And so now we're kind of in the heart of the evacuation area here. And Peyton Highway and Powers, you see some homes between Milner and Peyton Highway there. And you get up on Milne, a little farther to the north on Holman. This seems to be the area where there are the most homes and buildings. So you can see those here. Let me go a little bit slower just to help you orient. Right, so Holman Road, that kind of runs west to east, across Milne, and over toward Peyton Highway. Then you get a little bit more north of there, and you see some homes straddling Milne until you get to this property line here. We talked about this, I don't know, maybe 90 minutes ago. So once you get to Milne and this property line right here, there's really nothing up toward Squirrel Creek Road. So let's hope, obviously, the fire is west of all of these homes that we have seen here in this area, right? Like, I mean, there's some, I'm not sure what that is right there. But let's hope it's in this area back over here, because I don't see as much in terms of structures to burn. So we'll probably get, like I said, that fire perimeter area overnight. But that's kind of the area that we're watching. And then there is a pre-evacuation area that is to the north of the evacuation area. Let me pull that back a little bit here. See how you can click on these evacuations and you can get the text of those things. I mean, this is a great tool. This is a great tool, and kudos to them for getting this done. This is a good use of our tax dollars right here, because this can very clearly tell you if you are in this or not. So there we go. Okay, 8:20. And I'm trying to decide, man, I'd like to see some other. I'd like to see some official kind of sense here, or piece of information that the fire at least is not spreading like it was earlier. All right, I'm gonna pull up this new picture that I got here. Okay. All right. You're just gonna see me do this again in real time. So this might. Not sure this is from Monica. I'm going to take that off because it might be from a different person. But it is from the same area. Might be the same person, I'm not sure. But here is an updated photo that you're going to tell by how light it is here is a little bit different. But it's in a close enough area, if it's not the same area, that it's worth looking at as a comparison. So this is obviously to the east of the fire, and the sun looks like it's up there. So I'm not sure what time that picture was taken, but this is another vantage point at the minimum. And so, you can tell that this thing obviously is impacting people that aren't in the direct path of the flames, right? If you see smoke, you get on edge. I know I do. I mean, I was evacuated during Waldo, and, So Emery's out there. He says he thinks the pre-evac is a good idea because the wind's still blowing hard from the southwest. So that's a good piece of information, Emery. Thank you. All right, crew. Here's what I'm going to do. I need a little bit of a break. I need some food. It's 8:21. We haven't gotten any new information in a while. And with where I think the fire is, if it's close to structures, it's been long enough. I know people are out of the way. So I'm going to take a short break. I'll tell you what. I will plan on coming back on here at 9:30. That'll give me time to go get some food, get a couple things done to have on the 24-hour channel going. When we're done, I'll pop back in for 9:30, maybe for 10 or 15 minutes. I'll do a push alert in the Peaks to Plains weather app that tells you I'm coming on. I will re-push to social media here, so if you have questions or something in that meantime, you can go ahead and you can pop on here. Jenny just says, wondering about Lorson Ranch. We've had a couple questions about that. It's to the east of there and blowing away from them, Jenny, so they're okay. James says they need food for the firefighters and drinks too. Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Hopefully they have some bars and whatnot with them that they can, grab a moment here and get a little bit of sustenance for sure. But we'll take a little bit of a break. I'll be back on at 9:30. We'll do a check-in. We'll see if we have any other official information, see if the situation has changed. I'll take a look at some additional weather information. We'll do a forecast. We'll talk more about tomorrow. We'll do that here coming up in about an hour from now. And, prayers to everyone that is fighting this fire, prayers to everyone that lives in that area, that is in the evacuation area, those that are in the pre-evacuation area this evening. Fires are not a good thing. We've had a couple other ones pop up across Colorado today. In Flagler, west of Flagler on I-70, it seems like that one went okay. The one that we had in Pueblo was put out. So kudos to all of the firefighters that are doing just yeoman's work, getting this thing, all of these things battled as best we can. The pilots, the support crews, everybody that is working to keep our communities safe. Kudos to you. Thank you from me and from everyone else in Southern Colorado. We'll take a short break here. We'll be back in about an hour. You're watching Peaks to Plains Weather, our weather together.